Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hunting Cast. This is going to be episode 5, and we're going to talk about kind of ethics of hunting. This kind of got like a heated topic in a group chat recently. We're going to be talking about kind of like just the ethics of hunting, smart ideas, bad ideas, the whole nine.
It's quite a broad topic, honestly.
Good shots, bad shots.
Yeah,
We've all done them all.
for sure.
Except me.
Bow.
Sure.
You're a bow hunter.
I've only shot like 2 deer, killed a
They were
bow.
both unethical though.
One was through a tree.
One was through a tree.
That's
But-
pretty ethical.
I shot at a deer he killed. We won't talk about that. 150 yards freehanded. You can't blame me.
So, what is y'all's limits are at on bow hunting,
Range-wise,
range-wise? And I think this is a pretty good topic because, like, everybody's range is
I'm going to say mine is 40 to 45 yards, I would say. I passed a good deer one year at 51 yards, and I had a slight regret because I never seen him again. But I'd say still to this day it's around 40 yards. What about you, Troy?
Really? For me, it's about 45, 40, if everything's right. But it really depends on what you practice and how good your groups are at that range, you know. And like you could if you're good at shooting 100 yards, go for it. But I wouldn't say just go out there and first 2 or 3 shots you're like, hey, there's a deer out there at 100 yards. Don't take it, of course.
yeah.
But if you sit there and practice and practice and practice and you can hit a solid group, then I'd go for it.
As long as your bow still has the velocity to, go more than 2 inches deep into the deer, I'd say you'll be all right.
Yeah. I think the biggest dividing factor in this is what your target is. Like, obviously a whitetail, like most of the pictures you see of a whitetail, it's about 18 to 20 inches is what your target is.
Yeah.
Across the bow.
Yeah, probably 18.
And so, like, when it comes down to that, whitetail is like one of the smallest big game you're probably going to kill in the United States, and let alone Kentucky. So, my biggest thing, like, you see a lot of hunters on TV, like, shooting 50, 55, which that's what they live for, and every day I'd say they shoot morning and night. So, they got a little bit more time on our hands, but I would say that, 40 and 45 for sure is a go-to for me, too. I mean, when it comes to elk, you see elk hunters all the time.
Yeah.
60, 70
Their
yards.
lungs are literally.
It's
like,
like
It's like shooting a whole bow
Huge.
target.
yeah.
their lungs are the size of a deer, anyways.
Yeah.
Like the size of a whole deer from back to
Yeah, from
belly.
like its spine to its belly.
So, like, when you see that, somebody that doesn't deer hunt that much or know much about deer hunting is going to be like, well, why can't you shoot that at a whitetail? Because it's a completely different world.
See, for me this year, I didn't bow hunt as much as I like, so I didn't shoot my bow as much as I like, so 40 max. Like, there's no way. Like, 35 would have been a little bit uncomfortable for me. But this year, since I got a new bow, and I'm gonna try to shoot as much as I can. I want to be comfortable at 50.
You literally have to be like, set your day aside to like go out there and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you really want to go and be comfortable at shooting 60 and 70 yards, you literally have to do that every day.
Like, yeah,
There's
I'd
not like
say-
you can just like pick up your bow and haven't picked it up in 2 weeks and go shoot 60 yards and shoot.
I tell
Like
you what
30
I like.
minutes, 30 minutes a day, like 5-6 days a week, to be able to shoot a deer at 55 comfortably.
What I really like to do that helps me shooting is like set my target at 60 yards, 40 to 60 yards, and shoot that almost every day. And never shoot closer to that.
Yeah.
Because if you shoot at 40 and 60 every day, you go to 20 yards and
It's
it feels like cake.
Yeah,
It's
in
cakewalk.
2021, man, I could go out and shoot. I mean, at like 50, 60 yards, a group that big was a bad group for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I could shoot my bow great.
That should be a bad group.
And last year, at 60 yards, though, a lot of people don't even try to shoot 60. At 60, that was a bad group for me. Like, I mean, I did pretty good. Of course, my pins were covering the whole target, but once you shoot enough, you kind of know where to hold your pin at that distance. But
yeah.
like 45, 50, and 21 was, I'm not gonna say comfortable, but I could have done it. I think I could have killed the deer.
Yeah.
It also depends on, like you're talking about range wise, what kind of broadhead you're shooting.
Yeah.
Depends on what animal you're hunting as
Yeah.
well. But
Yeah.
Whitetail wise.
Yeah, whitetail wise, at that range, would y'all agree with me that fixed blade,
What range?
like 60, like we were talking?
Yeah, because
Like
I mean,
you'd rather be shooting a fixed
Yeah.
blade?
for sure.
I don't know.
Do you think it would have
I feel
enough?
like a mechanical is gonna fly more true at further ranges.
True, 100%. But at that distance, dude, the arrow was going like what, 150 feet a second?
I mean,
'Cause
I
it-
don't
it
know.
takes-
60 or 70. I mean, if you watch the arrow, I mean, they're dropping them like straight down. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And you gotta also take in that factor that mechanical has to open, so that's gonna slow it down going
Yeah.
in.
And it'd be
It is.
different if you had a 1-inch mechanical.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of your big game hunters, guys that are going for like elk and stuff like that, they tend to use a fixed broadhead just simply because
It
it's
gets
gonna,
better pass throughs.
Yeah.
No
And
question
I mean,
asked.
with a correct tuned arrow, which not everybody's just got the set up to just tune their bows and tune their arrows perfectly at 60 yards. So like that's why a lot of people go towards the mechanical, which I do too, because I mean I can go out there and shoot my field tip, and it shoots identical to my field tip without any
Your
tuning.
broadhead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my mechanical broadhead wise.
All right, so we've talked about the ranges quite a bit. What about like broadside, quartering to, quartering away?
Equipment.
I'm just
That's
talking
a big
about like
fact. I know. That's what I'm saying.
how far is too far for you to where you're like I ain't gonna shoot it. Like
Right.
quartering away or quartering to. That's what I'm saying.
Quarter and two,
Quar-
15 yards.
Yeah, quarter and two is like one of those shots you do not want to take unless you have to, and there's no such thing as having to take a shot. You know,
That's where that
But, like,
unethical side
yeah,
comes
that's
up.
that's where that comes up, which
Yeah.
is that's the problem because like you got 100, which I've never came across this, but you got 170-inch deer out here,
He's like stomping at you.
and he's
Like 8
like
yards.
he
Yeah.
sees
You
you,
know he's about to blast.
he sees you, and your only shot is quartering two.
hard. You gotta to hit his lungs. You gotta aim like mid shoulder.
That's a tough decision.
I would not
to
be
make.
comfortable with my current arrow setup
I
to
wouldn't
make
either.
that shot.
I wouldn't either.
That's why
100%
I'm
no.
wanting to go heavy arrow
Yeah, and I
for
mean,
that. Because quartering away, you can
Completely
slip,
different.
you can slip an arrow right in that rib cage.
Yeah.
if you're good enough, quartering away,
Yeah, that's a
really,
different ball game.
yeah, because you've got all those vitals. Obviously, you're going to hit guts,
Honestly.
liver before you're going to hit the lungs.
Probably
and everything
single
else.
lung versus double most of the time.
Yeah.
If you think about it, quartering away should be better. It should be
Yeah.
better than a broadside
I-
shot. Because I mean, you aim for the back rib.
I disagree.
That brings that lung into play, like he said.
Yeah, you're gonna hit
Quartering
one
away.
instead of two. most
Yeah.
of the time.
Have y'all ever
Probably
paid-
cut you off.
Have y'all ever paid attention to the way a deer's standing, his front leg? Because when they're like eating,
Yeah.
they'll have their leg up, dude, and that really changes the whole aspect of the shot.
I mean,
Is
it
that
gets your
shoulders
shoulder out of
pivoting?
the way a little bit. That's just like the last doe I shot. Like, I was in no hurry. She was standing there eating corn, and I seriously waited for her to put her right shoulder, because
To
that
take
was the
that
side
step.
she was on. Yeah, and once she did,
To
that's
open
when I
up her
shot
vitals,
her.
yeah.
And I hit her perfect. That was the first time I've ever waited, like, because I just wasn't in a rush.
Because
But
it was, I mean, it's yeah.
yeah,
Not many people have patience whenever they've got their target deer in front of them. Be like, I'm going to take the first available shot. You know, and I'm guilty of that. You know, I'm sure everybody in here is guilty of that.
With a bow, I feel like I'd be a bit more conservative on what kind of shot I take.
You definitely are, but like at the same time, whenever they give you the first broadside shot, you tend to take that shot, no matter if their shoulders forward or back.
Because you
Or
don't
trees in
know.
a way.
Because you don't know if they take that, if they give you that first opportunity, it's best to take it, in my opinion. Because you don't know if they're going to do it. You can't judge what that animal's going to
No.
do. So it's best, in my opinion, like I said, to take that first vital shot you can get
Yeah.
instead of waiting.
It's also a very scary thing when a deer is quartering away and it's walking away. It's like, oh, this is it.
My
I
bow
gotta make it
buck
happen.
that I killed, that's one thing, like, that's why I say the quartering away shot is not as lethal as a broadside shot, because you're literally shooting through, like, a deer's body's what, maybe a foot wide, foot and a half, depending
Around
on
there.
Yeah.
Ish.
I'd say
around in
around
there.
18
Okay,
inches.
you're shooting straight through that. A vital shot, depending on how hard the angle is, you're taking that foot wide, foot and a half, to like 2 feet.
Just hoping you get enough
Oh,
penetration
yeah,
to
for
get
sure.
to the lungs and
And
stuff.
you're
Yeah.
the biggest
Yeah.
side, the thing you want to shoot for is a pass through, because you got 2 holes. which is more blood, obviously. So like whenever you're shooting in that quartering away, you're more likely to not get a pass through. You're more likely to hit that shoulder bone, which you don't want to hit. And
But here's another thing: if you don't get a pass through, what do you think that arrow's doing when they're running?
I agree.
It's sitting there. I mean,
I don't
pass
think
through's
doing
great.
damage.
Do what?
I said like it's sitting there.
Yeah.
I don't
doing
think-
damage.
It's like shooting a 22 at an animal. Like, not, I haven't done that, but like they always talk about you shoot somebody with a 22,
Yeah.
it bounces. That's what that arrow would be doing when they're running. It's going to sit there and just cut up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's pros and cons. just
That's like that
anything.
deer. When I shot him, I didn't get a pass through, but the blood trail on that thing was unreal.
Yeah.
Just because the arrow was in him like the whole way. And I don't know if that made the blood trail any better. I mean, I ain't gonna say it did, but it was a heck of a
Definitely
blood
didn't
trail.
hurt though.
So when y'all switch broadheads, what are you gonna go to?
What do you mean?
What broadhead do you
Don't
want
plan
to
on
go to?
switching.
You gonna switch? We're gonna shoot a rage.
Yeah.
You gonna stick with rage?
You like a chisel tip?
I've got the hypodermics.
Mm.
I've got some hypodermics. That's what I killed that doe with last year. I mean, I have no complaints, but it was when I ranged it was 11 yards. My arrow, so the doe was about 10 because I was 18 foot. When I got down, I ranged my arrow. It was 6 yards from my tree. I hit her up here and it came down below her shoulder. In the exit wound, I could like take my whole hand and put it in the exit wound below her shoulder. Somehow the angle it was all at, that rage started ripping up here and didn't stop until it got down here. Full pass through. It looked like you took a 5 gallon or a gallon jug full of blood, cut the bottom of it and started walking. It was wild. I was very pleased with rage, but
Why do you
6
wanna
yards.
change?
Just because I want to go to a heavy arrow setup like he said. You know, quarter and two, them things just blow through
But
shoulders.
don't you think that a heavier arrow setup means you're more likely to have an expandable broadhead to work?
Here's the thing though, those things are going so wide. I mean, they're going 2 inches, so they're having to go through that much shoulder. And you watch videos on those blades, they break in bone very.
Yeah.
So you're liable to, you're liable just to have like maybe an inch, because that's all you need to get through that bone.
Here's the
but-
thing though. You don't want, starting on ethical and unethical, you obviously don't aim for the shoulder. And I know
No.
that crap happens
Oh, yeah.
and you do hit the shoulder. But not very many broadheads are really designed to hit the shoulder. Am I right?
Yeah, but I mean,
To
not really.
an
but-
extent.
They're not, but if you
There's-
do hit, you want a plan B if you do hit the
I
shoulder.
agree.
Yeah.
And here's what I want. Here's what I want to be. I want to be able to take that quarter and two shot with 100% confidence, like I was shooting that 30-06 right there. And I swear, I think if you get high 500 grain setups, you can do it. I've seen videos of it done, and you can just hold center shoulder, and you know 100% that arrow is getting to them lungs.
What
With
kind
my
of,
setup right now, I don't think there's any way that can happen. Like I was thinking a while ago, we were talking about the quarter and two shots. Like I killed one buck like that one year, but I lucked out, and there's that soft spot right under, like right beside their brisket, and they've got one on both sides. You know what I'm talking
what's
about?
that called?
It's kind of. Is it like the divot?
Yeah, it's like
There's
it's
a
a
name
soft
for it.
spot,
Starts
but
with a
there's,
S.
there's
I
no
can't
bone
think what
right
it
there.
is.
Yeah, it's like right there on the bottom of their neck. If you hit them right there, you're good with any kind of setup, because it's gonna go in there to the good stuff. But
Yeah.
if you miss either way, you're hitting bones and.
And just like, dude, that deer right there, that 7 point, I had no intention of shooting the shoulder. 20 yards with the gun.
This
I'm,
happens.
of course, with the gun, I wasn't worried about missing the shoulder.
Ethically, unethically, would you take a quartering two shot no matter your arrow setup?
With the arrow setup, I
No
plan.
matter.
With the arrow setup, I
Well,
plan
no,
on
but-
going.
but he's
what do you
saying-
mean, no matter?
No matter what arrow setup you have,
8 yards.
would you
With the arrow
Well,
setup you
would
have
you
right
agree
now.
that it's
With the arrow
unethical?
setup I have right now, I would not do it. But
Would
if
you
I'm,
agree that it's unethically to take that
He's saying
quartering two
like
shot?
face.
Period.
if you have a light arrow setup and
I-
you're shooting,
but
you're shooting a rage
I
hypodermic,
understand
I
both
agree.
sides. He's saying once you have that heavy arrow set up, quarter and two don't matter.
Here's my thing is,
It'll still punch right through.
unless obviously I've not shot a deer with a heavy arrow setup and see what it done, but you don't know what that actually will do until you do it.
I mean, there's been
I've
like-
seen
There's
videos,
videos done,
so-
obviously.
But there's so many
Here's
different
my
places you
take.
can hit a deer though.
Here's my take on rages. I've been shooting rages for the past 4 seasons, I think. Rage hypodermics. I've killed 7 or 8 deer with them. They do good, but I'm pretty sure I've had one pass through, maybe 2,
do you think it might be your arrow setup?
Yeah, that has a lot to do with it.
Okay.
It's also
Two
like
pass throughs with rage, and I know for a fact if I was shooting a 3-blade fixed, I would have got more pass throughs.
if
Guaranteed.
you
How do you know that?
I shoot fixed.
and if you
I
watch
just do.
I
I've
mean,
shot
it's
3
just
blades before. and got
hundreds of
pass
videos
throughs.
on YouTube. If you watch the Outdoor Channel, you're gonna see, and like especially like 2013 to like 16 when Rage was blowing up everywhere. Like you seen Rage commercial after Rage commercial. If you watch that, dude, a lot of those guys don't get passed through. They stop about that deep into the deer.
I mean, if you watch the Outdoor Channel, I would say 50% or less are getting pass throughs. It seems like
And
just,
50%.
I'll say
that's just all over the Outdoor Channel because everybody's shooting those
Yeah.
2-inch
Do
mechanical.
you think they're shooting them because they're good, or do you think they're getting paid?
They're good.
Or- I know.
I mean, I don't
I've shot
dislike
deer with
Rage
Rage,
broadheads.
but-
They shoot like field points. That's the best
Yeah,
thing about
it's
them.
crazy how.
And I
accurate
mean,
they
if you
are.
hit a deer behind the shoulder, it's perfect. And
Any-
good blood trails, it kills them quick. But it's just if you hit them in the shoulder accidentally, not even if you're aiming for them, but if you accidentally hit that shoulder, if you've got a heavy arrow set up, I think it's probably going to go through that first shoulder and hit lungs.
And that's probably a good point. Is it's probably best to have, like you said, something that'll hit that bone and go, just in case that happens, because you could shoot a deer in the shoulder anytime, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So it's like carrying a long range gun when you're hunting. If you're gonna have a big buck at 300 yards,
yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
you have a more of a chance in shooting a
'Cause
2.3 at 10.
It's going to bother you carrying a 12, 13 pound gun through the woods, but he steps out at 500, you're there for it.
Yeah.
I do think if you build a heavy arrow setup and you shoot rages, you're going to get decent penetration, but I feel like the blades aren't going to hold up.
See, I will say, I feel like I remember back like years ago when everybody was trying to go light arrows, they were having complaints out of rages because mid-flight, those arrows were going so fast, or like the first 10, 15 feet they would deploy.
Well, they don't carry the kinetic energy.
I've
that
never
they
had
need
one do it.
for
Yeah.
opening. That's why, like, a lot of the Rage, I don't know if you've seen, but a lot of them, they only recommend like 50 pounds plus for mechanical, just simply because they don't have the kinetic energy needed to open the broadhead. So, like, I can see how, like, if I went with a heavy arrow setup, which I plan on doing that later this year, but at the same time, I wouldn't expect to go shoot a deer. Now, I'm not saying if 100, back to that though, 170-inch deer walks out quartering to me, I would want to have the setup that I feel like I'm almost positive that it's gonna pass through or get to his lungs.
I think you can definitely do it.
I
think
wouldn't
you can have it.
advise anybody to take that shot, just because not everybody's gonna have my setup or the setup I believe is gonna pass through him or hit the lungs. But at the same time, I would want, like you said, a heavier arrow setup. I won't disagree upon that.
And I mean, that's pretty much the whole reason I want it, is for that reason. I mean, I'm not going to be,
There's definitely pros and cons behind that, like a heavier arrow setup,
I mean,
which
yeah, there definitely is.
we can cross that bridge when we get there because we plan on doing a comparison later on down
Yeah.
the road.
Maybe do
But-
some videos on building them too. We'll
Yeah.
see.
But like back to the whole ethics thing, the whole quartering away shot, we didn't really cover that all the way. Why I don't think obviously it's not as a ethical shot as a broadside shot.
Well, yeah.
Can you? Well, I mean, you said it.
I wouldn't say it's
You said it was.
In a way, it almost helps.
I
'cause
wouldn't say it's an unethical shot.
I
I
wouldn't say
think
that.
it can get to a
It's-
certain degree. They
as
can
far
be
as,
too
like-
quartering away.
Yeah.
If you have to shoot through like this much to get to those lungs, definitely don't take it.
We can all
if you
agree
can
here
see, if
that
you
most-
can see more than 4 or 5 inches wide of the butt, don't shoot.
Just what if it's facing right away from you?
I mean, there's a slight chance.
Which we can all
Straight
agree
through,
that the
man.
broadside shot is the perfect shot.
Mm-hmm.
Your second shot would be a quartering away. Can you agree on that?
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But
Oh,
like,
yeah. I'd say.
They just have to sew him up in the front, when
Yeah.
you're going mounting.
What about neck shots?
yeah,
Drops them.
They're
instantly.
extremely lethal.
extremely lethal, but a very small target.
And yeah, it'd be
It
different
is.
if the target didn't move all the time.
It is, but I mean, I don't know. I ain't even gonna say it. Go ahead.
I will say I shot my deer last year like the base of the neck, 400-yard shot, and it's at the base of his neck.
It always.
And
puts
he
him right
dropped.
down, every
He dropped.
time.
6.5 Creedmoor.
But
Like I had a save that thought.
If we
I
had
had
one
a
that would have blew him away.
I had a arrow rest malfunction a couple years ago, shooting at a doe. It was a cheap arrow rest, and it was like, I ain't even gonna explain it, but anyways, it hung and didn't close, and
My QAD's starting to do that.
really. Well, anyways, I was aiming right behind this doe's shoulder, and it shot off and hit her right in the neck, and I mean she just dropped. I got it on video, but
I think I would not advise it, but it's like headshots.
it's a little different than
It's a little
headshot.
bit
Not
slower,
really,
but-
because like at the same, which I will agree, it's a headshot is definitely a way smaller
Yeah,
target than the neck.
You're pretty much going for brain too. So
Yeah.
But-
you're versing like this versus if you're talking about a big buck.
There's not all that there though in the neck because you've got the vertebrae, the jugular, and there's veins obviously in there.
Couple
But
of
like
yards.
you can
Esophagus.
you can still miss those
Yeah, you definitely
and seriously wound the deer and never find him and he ended up dying.
Yeah, but
Do you
this
think-
comes back to this. Where is that deer standing when you shoot it in the neck? Is it broadside or is
It's
it face?
broadside
Okay.
90% of the time.
Yeah.
What happened? Like,
Or if he's standing
happens-
straight at
you
you.
stand straight at you, look at the
can.
right.
I mean, if he's gonna, if I was gonna shoot him in the neck, the only time I would ever think about that would be him facing me,
Yeah.
right towards me.
And,
What
and
if-
then you go for the vital area too at
Yeah.
the same time. So
I think the neck's pretty
I
safe.
definitely would. I definitely would
It'd
never.
be hard
do
to
it.
miss something in the neck. Almost neck shots only.
No,
No,
but I have thought about just thoughts of me while I'm sitting there deer hunting. Like if that 170-inch deer we're talking about walks up, and with the arrow setup I got now that's fairly light, and I'm shooting 2-inch rages.
You'd be scared to take any off-the-wall shot.
Yeah,
They
like if
do.
he's facing me, I think I would rather hold up a little bit and go for that like center neck than I would chest with the arrow setup I have right now.
I mean, dude,
I don't know
you
if
got
I'd
a
take
2-inch
it,
spot on a neck. 2 inches, you're hitting something important. I mean, one of our buddies, he shot a deer and hit it in the neck. I mean, like, you know it a little bit better than I do. How did he hit that?
Who?
Garrett?
Oh, it wasn't the neck. He hit it right in the brisket.
Or I mean, like right there.
Yeah, he hit it
there.
He shot a deer right in the brisket, and there's an artery right there, and it's the best blood trail I've ever seen.
Like right here,
I
passed
mean,
through. It was
he
broadside.
probably ran 250 yards, but I mean it was. He literally just bled out.
That's
and
like the
died.
back hip. There's our main artery back there, and there's been a lot of deer killed.
You know
just
where it's at
because
exactly?
It's. But like, there's been a lot of deer killed from bad shots getting hit in the hip, and it's just a luck shot.
there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that chance.
There's always that chance.
Those gut
but
shots, though. You ever track a deer, dude? Somebody shoots, come, help me find this deer. You get out there and you find a little bit of green.
What is
You're
some
like,
things y'all
oh,
look
man.
at?
Here's
Go ahead.
a scenario like versing a 3-blade muzzy to a 2-inch rage I was shooting. Me and Josh was hunting a couple years ago, and somehow I don't know what happened. I don't remember if the doe was walking or whatever, but I made a terrible shot. Hit her like right behind the rib cage, like hard guts with that 2-inch rage, and she ran like 60 yards and bedded down. And I went and shot her again. I mean, cause it literally, she had guts hanging out of her. Terrible shot, very unethical. But anyways,
I mean,
that
But did
rage,
you-
that rage
but
did
Here's
it.
the thing with ethical though. Did you mean to shoot it in the guts?
No, I
So
definitely
that wouldn't be
didn't.
unethical,
Yeah,
in
it
my
just-
opinion.
But anyways,
shot.
like a week or two later, we go hunting, and Josh, there was a doe that come under us, and he shoots it, and it was walking. Anyway, somehow he made almost the exact same shot with 3-blade muzzy. We never found the deer because it just in the guts it had that little bitty hole versus that rage that literally cut a hole in her like this, and her guts were just falling out.
But with,
So if you make a shot like that, I'd rather have a rage.
yeah, there's no happy medium there. It's all about where you hit them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're never gonna purposely want to shoot through the guts
No.
like you would with a heavy arrow setup and like a cut-on contact broadhead. That's just a lucky hit there. But anyways, who's gonna say that?
Y'all want to talk about blood trails?
that's what I was gonna say. Like,
Oh, yeah.
get on blood trails. A lot of people don't understand like the whole dynamic of blood trails. A lot of people, I've been
Dude,
guilty
it's-
of climbing down and going checking it 30 minutes.
It's something that takes a lot of
And a lot of
A lot of
nerves.
A lot of
Experience.
patience.
Yeah.
experience too. That's a huge
And that's the
thing.
longest wait ever too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like with the deer me and Drew helped Josh track a couple years ago. Right, but was it last year? It was last
2
year.
years ago.
2 years ago? Nah, time flies. But we tracked this deer He shot it. The arrow, how deep did it go? 8, 9 inches?
I don't remember, to be honest.
It didn't go very deep, but and it was not a bad shot. We start walking. I bet we walked 3 miles in circles because we would find, I mean, a speck of blood here, 25. We would kind of like follow like some kind of trail, 25 yards,
Just
find another one. We kept taking the arrow and placing it, and before long we did like a circle. We did a circle around the deer. We was like 25 yards from it because it was in the middle of the night. We were 25 yards from that
He
deer.
really
Did a
didn't
circle
run that
around
far,
it.
though.
It didn't. He killed it. But
I
there
think-
was no blood.
I think our, I don't remember. It seemed like we might have blood tracked it for like 100 yards or so and kind of ran out of blood. Most of the walking we did was kind
How
of
long
grid
did you wait?
searching.
It was
2 or
pretty
3
good.
hours at least. And
Yeah.
he thought he hit it a little.
We
back,
tracked
I
it
think,
for probably
maybe,
3
but
hours.
He got at least one lung.
And he went back in the daytime and found it like that, because I mean he walked to like where we last found the speck of blood, and he found it. And we like if you think about it, we didn't find no blood. He shot it kind of high because he was in a tree, and it just didn't bleed much. And when you're tracking a deer, you're thinking, I need to find blood. I need to find blood. When sometimes that's just not how it works.
It's like a high, like what you just said. You shot it high. If you shoot high, and you like don't hit no major arteries,
Or get a
no
pass
veins,
through.
or get a pass through, it ain't gonna bleed much because of how high that is above the
It
heart.
was like that deer I shot through the tree. We never found a drop of blood. Didn't find a drop. He went 60 yards and died. Like it's just.
What is y'all? How long do y'all wait on a gut shot?
All right, gut
Yeah.
shot.
You know, like you drew back, shot, and you know it was right there in the guts. Like you're like, man, that was bad.
Nah, it's like a big buck. Big old.
Don't matter if it's double or buck.
If it's cold, leave them overnight.
Yeah, I'm gonna like it.
That's
If
the best
even
thing to
shot,
do.
I'm going
Yeah.
back at like 7 to 8 a.m.
Now, if it's like early
morning.
season and it's gonna be 60 degrees, 70 degrees at night,
Like we made the mistake,
I would
like
wait a little
that
bit
deer,
and then
Wendell's
go.
deer, back 2017, big deer he shot. We knew he hit it horrible. He hit it behind the rib cage, and like the intestines back
Yeah.
there. And I think we got down and just kind of, I don't even know if we looked for his arrow or whatever. I had it on footage, so we knew where he hit. We come home, waited like 3 or 4 hours maybe, probably about 2 or 3. And a bunch of us went out there, and 2 of them walked up on him bedded. He literally ran like 80 yards from where he had got shot, and he was just bedded in the edge of the woods, just laying there. And he got up, walked off, never seen him again. Never, I mean, we went back and looked toward the direction he went. We don't know. I mean, I would say he died. Of course, there was just
It
a
just
little
happens.
a little puddle of blood, but if you hit a deer in the intestines like that, it ain't gonna live. So, I mean, that's in that kind of instance, if we would have waited till that next morning, he probably would have been laying there,
Yep.
I'd say.
I don't know. Of course, deer are wild when it comes to injuries. Like there's
They're
that
pretty
video
tough.
that went around that deer was missing from like
Oh, yeah.
the back of the shoulder all the way almost to his tail, and I mean a good sized chunk.
Yeah,
You
like
could-
all
you
the
could
way
just
back
see his
and-
shoulder blade.
Yeah.
When he was walking.
And he was walking just fine. Wasn't even limping.
deer are tough, man. Like even when they get hit by cars, they'll get right back up. Going 60, they'll get right back up and take off running sometimes.
It's kind of wild how they'll do it. Like, buck I shot back in 2017, 20-yard shot, and he was quartered away. Shot, it was a little far back on a quarter away. I hit him like right behind the rib cage, but like in that instance, it come out like right at his shoulder. It hit his shoulder. My arrow did, so it didn't get full penetration. And by luck, I was sitting on the edge of a soybean field. Instead of running in the woods, which was the easiest route, which typically they do, he ran straight across the soybean field, which was about 350 yards across. So I could keep my eyes on this deer the whole time. And about halfway across, he stood there, and I'm like, he's done. And arrow sticking out the whole time, everything, and I'm just like, tore up the whole time. Watching walk another 150 yards with an arrow sticking out of the side of him and bed down at the edge of the woods over there, which, like I said, it's about 350 yards. Wait an hour and a half till dark, and I'm like, I know this has got to be a dead deer because quartered away, like you said, if you put a good shot on him, it's going to hit intestines, it's going to hit, if correctly, a lung. So, got down. Me being young and dumb, 17, I went out there, couldn't find much blood. Went over there where he was standing at and found a puddle of blood where he was just standing there. And before that, he had gotten up from his bed, and I could see him walking in behind some Johnson grass, and then I lost him. So
Was that when you were still hunting?
yeah,
Or-
while I was still hunting in the tree stand. So I was like I said, me being young and dumb, I was like, I gotta find blood, gotta find blood. And by luck, I walked over there where he was bedded at, big puddle of blood, and I looked up 10 yards away, he was dead. But at the same instance, you know, potato, I was lucky there, you know, that it was a good shot and hit the vitals, some vitals that it needed to hit, and he ended up dying 10 yards away. But what if it hadn't, and I jumped that deer and he ran out of the country?
It,
Probably never would have found
Every
him.
day too.
it gets to you sometimes, man.
I mean, yeah,
You're like,
I shot a deer.
you get to freaking out. You're like, oh man, did I make a good shot? Did I make a bad shot? Do I need to go look for blood? Should I call for help?
Yeah.
Or am I gonna find him out there? Like, it gets to you.
I think your best bet, no matter the shot, unless you know without a shadow of a doubt, like you get down and you look at your arrow and it's just covered in bright blood with bubbles in it, and it was a complete pass through. You need to go back to the house, and if you're filming, which I think is a great thing to do since we've been filming a lot, you can actually re-watch the shot, because sometimes watching it, shooting it, it seems good, and then you go back and play it, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's a little back.
A little back.
Yeah.
You talk about bubbles. A lot of people go by, which I do, the color of blood,
Color.
tint, and what's in it.
Yeah.
I always thought that was a good thing.
And the smell
If
of
you're
it.
not,
I mean,
smells like the
seriously,
You
guts.
taste
Yeah.
it. If you taste
I mean,
it,
if
it's
it's-
got iron in it.
seriously now, like you
I've
can
never
hit
smelt it, but
you can hit a liver shot, which is usually like a really dark blood, and sometimes which the liver's right there beside the intestines. If you smell it, it smells pretty rank.
could you go by the color though and tell it's a liver?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
So you just smell it for fun.
I guess. Just seen it on I seen it on TV,
I've never-
so I tried it.
I've never paid attention to the color of blood.
That's a big thing.
Definitely.
I mean, I really haven't tracked very many.
I don't know
deer.
but if you're filming though. I guess that if you could film and you're like, well, I'm not 100% sure.
Like,
But that
It's
color
like-
of the blood would be.
the only deer
That
I've
deer, I shot that thing and my Luminoc failed, which really sucked. I mean, it was low light. It was right after I ran out of camera light. I got it on film, but it's so dark you can just see like a silhouette of him walking. And I shot that thing, and it was dark enough I couldn't see my arrow at all, and my Luminoc failed. It didn't come on. And I heard it. I know I heard my arrow hit him, but I didn't know where. And I go down there, like I give it like 20 or 30 minutes and just walk down there to where I shot him, find a little bit of blood, and then I came home for about 2 hours.
What'd your arrow look like?
It was sticking in him, so I didn't know. Came home for about 2 hours. I mean, I was confident in my shot, but I didn't know where I hit him. But we went back out there and ended up getting on a heck of a blood trail.
every deer I've shot, or every deer I've tracked, except that one I killed with that bow last year, that doe. Of course, I didn't see her crash because it was summer and you couldn't see nothing. I heard her crash though, so I knew she didn't go like 50, 60 yards. But every deer I've ever tracked, there wasn't much blood except his, and it was like you'd walk 20 yards with nothing, and then just be a big pile. But other than his deer, I've never really had tracked blood, so I'm not too experienced when it comes to tracking.
The craziest blood trail that I've ever seen. I shot a doe with Thompson Center muzzleloader,
I can imagine.
and I'm telling you, there was a solid blood trail, probably half a foot to a foot wide.
Looked like you cut her head off and drug her.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. I'm serious. Like it was that you could sit there and look at it down through the woods and see it.
That's what's just so crazy about deer, because I shot a doe 20 yards away with a 7mm, 20 yards away, broadside, and same instance, it looked like somebody took a 5-gallon bucket and just poured red blood out all the way to her. I didn't even see her crash, but she literally crashed like 30 yards away from that.
That's
But
it.
like, think about that. Somebody like, how do they withstand that? That's what's just so crazy.
take
like,
off running. It's
and just take off running, and some of them make it 75, 100
You got
yards.
a will to live.
They definitely do. That's
Yeah,
what's just so crazy about it. I mean, somebody stick you in the side with a 2-inch broadhead and see how far you run.
I'm gonna sit down. Call somebody.
Finish me off. Call an ambulance.
Yeah, get somebody, dude. What are you doing?
Another thing that I hear a lot of is if you find blood and it starts going uphill. Have you heard about that?
Mm-mm.
They say if a deer has a way, it's either going to run down here on flat ground if it's hit. But if it starts running uphill, you need to back off and let it wait because usually they won't go uphill. I mean, in some instances, I probably should.
Yeah.
They don't have a option to. They're going to, but
Yeah.
this is what I've heard. I didn't know if y'all knew anything about that or not.
I agree on that. Like, they're going to take the easiest path of
'cause
resistance.
if they're in that
You
much
would
pain.
think.
What you would think, but not every time do they do that.
I pointed
Because-
that deer out a dozen
Yeah.
times, but that
It is-
deer, like he could have ran up the creek, down the creek, or
Across
almost
the creek.
Yeah, he did run across the creek. He could have ran up like a little valley that goes up. That kind of would have been his easiest route.
for
But that
real.
dude went up a mountain, straight up.
Yeah,
he
he went
pretty
up a
much
cliff.
he pretty much went straight up until he died.
Bad shot.
Like it's pretty wild. I mean,
Double lung.
we were tracking
Double
that
lung.
deer,
And that
grabbing on
Like I
the
said,
tree,
this is
pulling
something-
ourselves up. Like we were climbing. If I was climbing a ladder, getting that deer out of
I mean,
there.
steep as can be.
I mean, I'll agree on that. Like, if I have a really sparse or don't have very much blood at all or can't find any blood at all, I'm going to go downhill.
Yeah.
Just because that.
Well,
But I have in an instance where I shot a deer one year, shot him. He was kind of quartered away, and I made a bad shot. I hit him in the shoulder. Whenever they're quartered away, that's not much of a,
No.
it came out in his brisket. Well, we got down dark, which I shot him at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so it was like an hour
Was that
out
with
and
a
a half.
gun or?
Yeah, I was with a gun. And I got down, went and looked for blood, shot him on 7mm. So I'm like, I've never shot anything with a 7mm and never found blood. Got down and should have knew instantly it was bad because there was no blood at all. And so we kind of looked into the woods, Bree went into the woods, couldn't find any, backed out, came back 4 hours later with, it was me, Dad, my uncle, and Papaw. They all three went down the hill. It was a logging path that went straight down the hill into the woods. That's where all three of them went. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go over here. There's this big oak tree laid over, I mean, bigger than the size of this table. Why would a deer jump over that with a broken shoulder? Don't tell me why, because he did. I jump over it, and I find the first speck of blood. And from then on, 50 yards, I found him. So it's just
I've
like...
shot a few deer and you go 20, 30 yards and not see any blood. That's why I like watching them exactly where they go.
Yeah.
Because they don't bleed instantly. Well, I mean, some occasions they will, but
Good occasions.
yeah.
A lot of times they'll run 20, 30 yards before they open up.
Mm-hmm. Well, that deer, I mean, it was spec. So it wasn't it wasn't a good shot, and there wasn't hardly any vitals hit at all.
that deer I shot to the tree, I mean, it had no exit wound and the bullet was really high, so it never leaked a bit. Not any at all. None. And when we found the deer, it had so much just bubbled up blood sitting like it was laying on it. It was where it fell on its left side where the bullet hole was, and it was just covered. I mean, the ground was covered in blood.
Yeah.
But I mean, before that, there was none. We didn't find any.
Yeah.
My Indian brother followed a trail of ruffled up leaves. Found the deer. He said, "No."
Called second to William.
Yeah. I was like, how'd you even find it? And he goes,
Boy Scouts.
he said, I followed a trail, ruffled up leaves. I look, man, it's crazy. He was dragging his shoulder. So he was just scooting all the leaves out of the way. He was dragging his left arm, I guess,
That's a good point.
Left arm.
and he was dragging. I mean, I'm not kidding. There was a perfect trail of ruffled up leaves, dude. Looked like you took your boot off, tied it to a string, and started walking.
Why couldn't you just drag your foot?
Because how you gonna drag your foot and walk, idiot? Talk about that. You gonna drag your foot and walk. I mean, I guess you can scoot it, but
Oh.
take your boot off and tie it to one of those bow hoist things.
Let's hit on something else along with the unethical and the ethical. What about practice? Instead of just like what arrow you shoot or what placement, what's some unethical hunting in your opinion? Like
Those Kansas lug hunts, dude. You got the Carhartt on, dude.
I wouldn't say that.
Obviously, in my standpoint, I mean, just Shooting at an unknown target, that's like the number
Yeah.
one.
That and throwing your pop-up line on
I've-
top of a scrape. Like stupid stuff like that. That's just gonna ruin your next 10 hunts.
Well, but like, you hear of a lot of instances. To me, I think it's absurd. I would never, like, I see a set of antlers coming through the woods. There's no point in my life have I ever been like, I'm gonna think he's right there and shoot.
What if it's a 230?
That or it's just like
That's not happening. But
one year when I was really young, it's a hunt I'll never forget. I had a big deer come under me, and I don't know if it was legal shooting light or not. It was right on the border, but anyways, like I drawed back, and I couldn't see. I didn't know if I was looking through my peep or not because it was so low light. I ended up just letting him walk.
yeah,
But,
I've done
like
that.
a lot of people would have just took a crack at him.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
That was a public land giant too.
It was. No kidding.
It really
I'm not
was.
kidding.
It was a
Public
yellow
land.
thing.
And I mean, I know I was 13, but that thing was huge. It was opening day of bow season, and we went to Yellowbank and hunted down there. And I ain't kidding you, I never will forget it. Of course, I know I was 13 and I was younger, but it was so
130
wide.
deer.
No. And then we talked to somebody that was hunting the same area, and he swore up and down that he had a 24-inch wide 12-point on camera. So I don't know if that's the one I seen or not.
But like I was talking about, I don't know if this kind of the same thing y'all are talking about.
Pop
like
up line on
unethical.
the scrape.
Like stupid stuff like that.
well,
Going
that's
in.
not- that's not
every
unethical.
time you go in, man, like
That's
dumping out a
Unethical
a
as
jar
far
of
as
dope
not
and
gonna see
stuff
any
like
deer.
That's unknowledgeable.
Yeah, but like stupid stuff like that, in my opinion.
That's just like some idiot that got permission to hunt.
Easy now.
Well, he is
He's not our
an idiot.
neighbor. He's an idiot.
He's an idiot.
We can talk about him.
Anyways, he got permission to hunt land down here by where we lived the other day, and it's property we hunt every year. We've hunted it since I was little, and he's like, "Yeah, I just want to kill a couple does. It's not our land. It's just the neighbors that we hunt on." Anyways, so he's sitting up there. We hear this dude shoot almost every evening, every morning.
And when he would shoot about 3 times.
I mean,
he would
it's
empty
getting
it.
ridiculous. So, I mean, my dad knew him, and he's talking to him and stuff.
And I'm sorry, but if you do stuff like that, you're an idiot too. Like, come on.
Anyways, he's hunting like this thick sagebrush field. It just grew up like briars. It ain't been bush hogged in like 4 or 5 years. And he just sitting up there, leaned up against a brush pile. And we asked him one time, we're like, did you get a deer this morning? He said, no, I don't guess. He said, I seen a doe's head walking through this field, and he said, I knew which way she was going. He said, so I just held down where I thought her shoulder was and shot. And he said, I didn't find no blood. First off, super unethical.
Thought you were gonna say his name.
No.
You're gonna say terrible.
Terry?
I thought it was gonna be Terry.
Yeah.
No, it's not Terry.
Got Terry.
Anyways, I mean, that's super unethical to even try to pull something off like that. And
Yeah,
this dude's
that's-
fairly old, and you know how hard it is to find a speck of blood in that. I mean, I just wonder if he didn't hit it. He very likely could have hit it far back and it not bled for 20 or 30 yards like we was talking about. And apparently he did 2 or 3 deer like that.
He hit, I promise you, he hunted for, a week and a half? And I know for a fact he went through a box of shells. At least 20 shots.
This guy won't be back. Let's just say that.
Like, come on, man. Like, come on.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't know, like, how people do that because in my mind, that's just absurd. But, like, if you don't really know how to hunt, just go watch some hunting. I feel like
Absolutely.
go watch some hunting on TV because I swear you'll learn so much.
That's like
Like,
If you don't know how to hunt, just look up the hunting cast.
just, yeah,
an
there you
old,
go.
an old timer was telling me a story about how his dad shot at a huge buck one year. And he said he got down from his stand or whatever, and he was walking back to the truck, and he looked up, and there's this huge buck standing in this thicket, and all he could see was like, of course, this was like, let me rewind a moment. This is like late 70s or 80s.
1932.
Maybe
using
like
a musket.
Might have been like 90s or something, but this was like 30 years ago, anyways. And
It's when
he said
dinosaurs were around.
he
Yeah.
pulled his gun up, and he said he put the crosshairs like right between this deer's eyes. And then he thought, oh, I don't want to mess that mount up. I'm gonna get this thing mounted. So he said he dropped it down where right on his neck, and pulled the trigger. And he said that thing. He thought he was facing him, but he was standing broadside with his head turned.
Oh,
So he shot right under it.
That's tough.
That's just a funny old story, though. But,
You know.
bad luck.
Yep.
You know.
I-
Bad luck.
What time are we looking at, Willie? Let's see if we're
46 minutes. We got time for
46
one more
minutes.
good story, Drew. Hit it.
Back in 2017.
I mean, what do you think about running deer? I've heard a lot of instances people taking shots at.
Well, if
buck.
you just think about it, he's
Never.
running. He's gonna be running about 20 mile an hour. Your bullet's traveling at 3,200 feet a second.
I mean, I've
100
heard of,
yards, 300
that's
feet.
another unethical shot.
Yeah, a tenth of a second.
I mean,
Just-
definitely not with a bow ever.
I mean,
No,
definitely
no,
not.
no.
But like even a rifle.
Even with a rifle,
I
I,
still-
don't see myself ever.
Speak
putting
for
down.
yourself, dude. I'm aiming for that artery in the butt.
I mean, that's something that you just. It's different when you're like rabbit hunting and stuff, and you got a shotgun.
Yeah.
But
Well,
when
it's
you
like-
got a rifle, it's just that's just an
Or
unethical
which
shot.
there's people that do deer drives and it's perfectly legal,
Yeah.
but they are shooting
A lot of those
slugs
people
and-
are shooting
buckshot.
and
buckshot.
buckshot.
So you got how many projectiles?
Was
Yeah.
is,
3 or 4.
is
most of the time?
buckshot legal?
Yeah, it depends on what size you get. Not in Kentucky.
I was about to say, I don't think it is in Kentucky.
No. As far as I know, it's not.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Unethical.
Or killing too many deer.
That's definitely. I
I
mean,
mean, like that guy up here shooting every day.
Yeah,
I'm
like
telling you,
He's shooting shadows.
he swore up and down he only killed 2 deer, but he only admitted to the 2 deer that we saw him with. So
who knows?
what's the odds of that? If that's actually all
Maybe.
he
if
killed.
he would shoot, then he's out of here 30 minutes later.
You gotta watch people like that.
Definitely.
Watch them like a hawk.
Definitely.
He's pulling up to the slaughter plant. Yeah, my wife killed this one. My brother killed this one.
Knowing your backdrop
Yeah.
on a
Oh
deer.
yeah, 100%.
It's a
I mean,
good thing. with
yeah,
a
that's
rifle.
definitely common sense. I mean, especially even when you're hunting, know what's behind what you can see.
Yeah.
The bullets drop
And
They
bullets go
keep
forward.
going.
and they ricochet. Like it'd be so easy for a bullet to hit a tree and just do that.
I've heard bullets before, like ricochet.
Oh, yeah,
the,
in hunt
the
season.
cartoon noise.
You'll
It's
hear 'em.
legit.
It
Yeah.
sounds
It
just
sounds
like
just like that.
So where you'll hear it, then you'll hear the shot.
Well, I think they say that 22 can travel up to 2 miles,
it somewhere in there.
something like that.
And 22 has nothing
And
going
22
for it.
is the.
Yeah.
No, you think about a 22 though, coming straight down on top of your head.
No, but they reach terminal velocity. Like, and I don't know if they'll kill somebody.
Terminal
It
velocity.
definitely kill somebody.
Oh yeah.
Well, haven't you heard like you
drop?
drop a penny off the Empire State Building?
Yeah.
That's
They
not
can-
true though,
How do you know?
because the guy tested it. Dude, YouTube that crap, man.
that?
You want to go outside with
He
Big
goes, I
blessings.
swear to you, he took a bucket of pennies and went up to where pennies hit
See,
terminal
that's
velocity.
that's
He
where
throws
he
the
messed
whole
up.
bucket.
Because terminal velocity is like
Like a
the
max.
maximum speed of something falling, and he dropped a whole bucket of pennies, and they all landed on him. And he stood up, and he was like, "Oh."
Oh.
That's where he messed up. It's just one penny.
He dropped a bucket. I don't think it's gonna affect it, but whatever.
I can see it definitely do. Like,
He had like whelps on it. That's it. Like he had glasses on, dude, and he was like, "Go!"
he had a
They
helmet.
dropped a bucket of pennies from a
He had a
helicopter
football
from like a
helmet
couple
on.
100 feet up.
No, but I got a buddy that's a roofer, and he posts on his Facebook all the time. He works in Louisville, and like doing the replacements like shingles and stuff for like hail damage. He will find bullets embedded in the shingles.
That's what I was about to say. Are they embedded or like?
No, they're
Blown
holes.
through.
Yeah, but you gotta think. You can't just push a hole through a
Oh,
shingle.
for sure, no.
Yeah, I mean, you got
And also the penny thing. A penny weighs what? Like
Yeah.
10, 15 grams, 20
Flat on one
grams.
side, so they're
Well,
gonna.
that's what I'm just saying about the penny. And pennies are spinning everything. A bullet is a lot more dangerous than a penny.
you just
False.
said a 22 isn't going to kill somebody though.
I don't think a 22 will. 22s are light.
I think it would.
And they'll start tumbling. Once they hit a certain speed, they're tumbling.
All right, next week we're gonna be putting this method to the test.
Next week, I'm going to lay down and start spraying. Glasses on, the whole nine.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, it's about time.
Better wrap it up.
Anything we need to say? I got a new bow last week,
Yeah.
so I'm going to be doing a little video on that. I don't know when it's going to be put out because it's going to take me a little while
I
to get the
definitely
arrow
think you
set
should
up.
wait till I get mine.
Like sometime in spring too, maybe late winter, something
Break
like
it
that.
out during fishing season.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. We're in the middle of a duck blind build on the John boat,
That
Yeah.
too.
so we're filming that. Gonna do a video on that. So
Duck season's
Hopefully we'll be
here.
duck hunting.
I've
sure
never
to
done
watch
it
that.
before. I'm willing to try it.
We're going to be teaching Troy how to duck hunt.
It's only my second year, so I ain't that experienced. So we're gonna be learning together a little bit.
That's the best way to learn together.
Yep.
Friendship.
Well,
All right, thanks for watching. Link in the description. That's for our Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. YouTube won't be in there because you're watching on YouTube. I was about to say YouTube. But make sure to like, subscribe.
Until next time.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
See y'all.
see y'all.